Welcome to episode 41 of the Animorphs Read-Along broadcast. Today we are talking about Visser, and man, it is a good book. I don't think we've ever gotten such a huge information dump that also affects the story in such huge, critical ways. This book answers so many questions about so many things. It sort of lifts the curtain behind this whole Yeerk invasion, gives us some major hints at what may happen down the road. We also finally get to really meet Marco's mom, and she is such a badass. She is brilliant and smart, and years of being infested has not broken her, and she is still defiant and sassy and is a great strategist. I mean, like, this woman is amazing. She is the hero we all deserve. At the end of book 30, Visser One fell off a cliff to her death, but it turns out she lived and she's been a prisoner ever since, and she has been awaiting trial for treason. Visser 3 is accusing her of all kinds of traitorous stuff. And he's not wrong. Visser 1 and Visser 3 have had this long-standing rivalry, and Visser 1 has helped the Animorphs on multiple occasions because she'd rather hurt Visser 3. I think it's a combination of all these helpful moments that we've had with her, plus the fact that she's infested by Marco's mom, that makes her automatically kind of a more sympathetic character than Visser 3. And in this book we get to learn her history and understand the why behind that. Visser 1 has always seemed to understand humans better and has a greater respect for humans than Visser 3. We learned that when she first got to Earth, she kind of fell in love with humans and was sort of living as a human for over a year and had kids, and she loved her husband and she loved her children, and those kind of feelings for a host are like not allowed in the Yeerk Empire. When she's talking about this era of her life, I think we really start to feel bad for Visser 1, and we're like, she's a good person. But by the end of the book we kind of realize, no, she's still a ruthless murderer and she definitely does not deserve our sympathy. The most exciting part of this book for me was definitely when like the Animorphs show up and wreak havoc and like kidnap Visser 1. Seeing Visser 1 and Marco like trading insults, talking strategy, and Visser 1 is so impressed with Marco. They're talking with her, Marco's like, look, this is it, I'm getting my mom back. This is game over for you. Figure it out on your own. And they actually get her to leave Ava for a moment. And then there's this heartbreaking thing where Ava's like, no, you know what? I need to still be Visser 1. Visser 1 is the one advocating for this non-violent secret invasion. If Visser 3 gets put in charge, here comes War of the Worlds. Now the best thing is for Visser 1's strategy to continue on Earth. And so they can't free Marco's mom. Visser 1 goes back in Ava's ear, and Marco has to say goodbye to his mother again, thinking this is probably going to be the last time they see each other again. And it's just really sad, but at the same time it's really great that they got to have that moment, because like Marco actually got to talk to his mom. Like, that happened. Visser 1 put it together that these Andalite bandits are pretty much all human, and that's a very dangerous situation for the Animorphs to be in, but they're counting on her continued hatred of Visser 3. Now they kind of have this leverage over her where they have a recording of her, you know, dealing with them. So it's like mutually assured destruction, basically. This moment is also really interesting because the Animorphs have a chance here to totally change the way this war is being fought. Ava says if Visser 3 takes control, this is going to be war, and they're like, well, maybe that would be better. People would know what was happening. We could fight back in, you know, more ways than this whole guerrilla warfare nonsense. They decide to trust Ava's gut. You know, there is a chance that humans would lose in an all-out war. And for now, the silent invasion is the best thing for everyone. But we also get this intel that if all-out war happens on Earth, the Andalites will definitely show up. The reason they haven't shown up yet is because of the slow, quiet nature of this invasion. It's just not a top priority for them. By the end of the book, Visser 1 is pretty much claiming that she's, you know, half human. I loved life as a human. Loved my life as Alice and Kim, as Hildy's wife, as a mother. I had gone over. I was as much human as Yeerk. And then she continues, we could enslave the people of Earth gradually. They would never need to know that we were there among them, until we were them, and they us, and all under my power. There's this weird duality to her, because you can tell that her love of humans is kind of genuine. She respected and admired Alice and Kim, and she really loves her 2 children that she bore, but at the same time, she still wants to like dominate and rule Earth. Her reasons for wanting this nonviolent invasion are primarily about protecting her 2 kids, but I think also on some other level about protecting humanity, because she has sort of absorbed some human qualities into her. She's still totally like an evil person, but just evil in a different way from Visser 3. As far as laying the groundwork for future books, we find out that the Andalites are amassing a huge force But there's this question of whether or not they'll come straight to Earth. At the end of this book, Visser One lives to fight another day, narrowly escaping execution, and is headed off to the Anati sector to stir up trouble and draw the Andalites out there. I appreciated that this book acknowledged how ineffective Visser 3 has been while leading the invasion of Earth. All of these failed schemes of his, the anti-morphing ray, the weird cow meat. So I liked at the end when Visser 3 sort of got scolded as well. He and Visser 1 were both found guilty of treason. They were like, we'll let you live for now, just stop screwing up so badly. And those are all my thoughts about Visser. The next book is book number 36, The Mutation. If you want to keep up with this read along, subscribe to this channel or follow me on Twitter, and I will see you on Monday.